sound mind and self-realization. It's an all-out endeavor to create conditions for the emergence of a new humanity on this earth, which is filled with inner joy, while at the same time enjoying the fruits of great material prosperity and riches. One can enjoy the material and the spiritual world without sacrificing one for the other by practicing the science divine Mahamantra, Bhitar se sannyas, Bahar se sansar, which means being in a state of total acceptance from within and yet working and living like the most ambitious person on this earth, just as the wheels of a car keep moving in high speed, but the axle remains static. My effort has been towards freeing the individual from the ideologies and the belief systems which have blinded and divided humanity through the ages. Science Divine provides definite scientific techniques and revolutionary insights for bringing about the total transformation of the modern man in general. And the whole objective has been to simplify spirituality in such a way that it becomes a part of life and living of every individual on this earth. My beloved ones, today I am going to talk about the essence of Krishna's life and his message. The most interesting fact about Krishna is that since the past 5,000 years, people all over the world have been talking about Krishna, but he still remains unsaid just because humanity has not been able to understand and encompass his life and message to the whole. He is so mysterious and multidimensional that he has accepted and absorbed all contradictions of life. And that is why it has become most difficult for people to understand him to the whole. In fact, Krishna was born much ahead of his times. That is why very few people have been able to understand and appreciate him in totality. And just because of this fact, there have been hundreds and thousands of interpretations of Krishna's Gita. People have picked different parts and aspects of Krishna according to their likes and dislikes. For example, Shankaracharya has taken Jnana Marg, or the path of knowledge, to be the essence of his Gita. Just against it, Ramanuj has accepted the path of devotion, or the Bhakti Marg, to be the essence of Gita. And accordingly, Tilak has gone into the depths of Gita and found that the path of action, or Karma Yoga, is the essence of Gita. Surdas is happy enough to go into the details of his early childhood, but he cannot dare to peep into his days of youth. He is afraid of his flirtations and love games that he played during his youth. Just against it, Kesho has delved deeply into his amorous dimensions of life. Nobody has been able to accept the whole of Krishna. Therefore, I will like to urge you all not to try to understand Krishna by your mind, just because his vastness is mind-boggling. While speaking on Buddha, my objective was to inspire you to understand him. But here my objective is to inspire you to let him reach your heart with his flute and his song, and let my words of eternal love for him become a vehicle for the same. And this will certainly unleash a process of great transformation within you. The whole objective of my talk is to enable you to love Krishna and to live Krishna in place of worshipping Him, because loving and living Krishna will become the best way of worshipping Him. The most important dimension about Krishna's life is that He has been described as the perfect avatar, the complete avatar, the complete incarnation of God. All other incarnations are incomplete, only Krishna is the total, the complete, the perfect incarnation of God. All religions in the world have divided life into two parts, the body and the spirit. Some religions have accepted one and denied the other. Krishna is the only one who has accepted both the dimensions of life. He has accepted life as a whole. He has accepted the body and He has accepted the spirit. In fact, He has not only accepted, but He has transcended them both. He has transcended them both, but any transcendence can happen only as a byproduct of acceptance, not as a byproduct of denial. Krishna has accepted and absorbed life in all its dimensions of joys and sorrows as offered by this existence. He does not shun love and He does not run away from woman. He is quite compassionate and non-violent at heart, but He can plunge Himself into the fire and fury of the great war when it becomes inevitable. He has all acceptance for the nectar, yet He is not afraid of the poison. In fact, Krishna becomes whole and complete in Himself because He has transcended all sorts of duality and conflict of this life. And that is why He has been described as the complete incarnation of God. Even Rama is not the complete incarnation of God. He is also an imperfect incarnation of God. Krishna is a perfect incarnation just because He is like a flower that can take any form. He can become a marigold, a jasmine, a lotus, or a rose. This quality is quite incomparable. For example, Buddha is a rose and perhaps the most beautiful rose on this earth, but he cannot be a jasmine, he cannot be a lotus, he cannot be a lily. And this way, Buddha has got a powerful limitation. Krishna might lack that depth, but He has great vastness. He has tasted all the facets of life, and that is why, and therefore all the contradictions of life have merged into His life, and He becomes a perfect avatar. And finally, the most important reason behind His being called a complete incarnation is that He is absolutely empty and choiceless because of His egolessness. He does not choose to be something, because once you choose to be something, you cannot be a lot many other things. You become limited. If you really want to be all, you will have to stop trying to be something. You will have to be nothing, totally egoless. It is so because becoming something will become a prison for you. The same truth has been beautifully described by the Upanishads, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate, which means from wholeness emerges wholeness, and if wholeness is taken away from wholeness, wholeness still remains. And I want to tell you, if you take away thousands of Krishnas from Krishna, Krishna will still remain. That is the meaning of His being a complete or a perfect incarnation of God. The life of Krishna has been described as a leela or play acting. It is so because he has no limitations whatsoever on any dimension of his life. He is never serious and he can walk on any ground without faltering or without any fear. He accepts the immortality of the soul that turns even war into play. On the contrary, for us, life is not a play. We turn it into a war. We become serious in each and every aspect of our life. In all the dimensions, big or small, we are over serious because of this thing or because of that thing. We fail to take even games and sports also like play. For example, if there is a cricket match between India and Pakistan, you will find that the emotions of the people take such a turn that by the end of the game, the whole game becomes a bitter conflict. The whole game turns into a war. Even in our individual life, we are torn by what to do and what not to do. We are indecisive and we are always fighting what is right, what is wrong. However, Krishna says, accept everything of life as it is. Do not try to choose. Be in a mode of total acceptance of the situations as they are. If war becomes inevitable, go joyfully into the war. Krishna says, be prepared to accept all the situations of life as and when required. And if you are ready for that, then your life will become just a celebration. You can face even the challenges of life joyfully and fearlessly. If you can make your life a celebration, then why to settle for something smaller than that? Now I will talk about the essence of his teachings and message. The essence of Krishna's teachings is to attain a state of yoga for experiencing the ultimate truth. According to him, the ultimate truth can be experienced by being in a state of yoga, which means the union between the individual and the absolute, or we can call a union of the soul with the Supreme. As a matter of fact, you are just a pure witnessing consciousness, and this is only your ego that creates the wall between your witnessing consciousness and the consciousness of the Supreme, or we can say this ego is the root cause which creates a state of separateness between you and the existence or the Supreme Reality. Therefore, elimination of ego ultimately leads to the union of the individual self with the Supreme Self, or we can say that egolessness is a state of being in which the great union between the two happens. And finally, self-realization or the realization of the absolute truth. In fact, ego is the root cause of all the suffering and all the conflict in this life, and elimination of ego is the ultimate aim of all the yogas. According to Krishna, as long as you are doing things of life as an individual, the existence will not be a doer of those things in your life. In other words, if you are a doer, then the things of your life will not be treated as done by this existence. And as long as you are a doer, all the troubles, tensions and turmoils of life will be the natural byproduct of your life and living. The day you come to know that you are not the doer, that you are no more, that the things are happening on their own, only that moment the yoga happens in your life. Krishna has offered 3 paths to reach this ultimate state of yoga. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which means the path of knowledge, the path of action and the path of devotion. Herein lies the richness of Krishna. He has not given you the single path. He is not fanatic about one single path. He gives you all the possibilities. In fact, Krishna represents a unique synthesis of knowledge, action and devotion. He accepts the truth that man is a complex of intellect, action and emotion. However, one of these three capacities may be more dominant than others in everyone, and the same dominant capacity will be the path for that particular individual. In fact, Jnana, Karma and Bhakti are knowledge, action and devotion are the three methods of meditation. Witnessing is the ultimate end or the culmination of meditation. But I will like to suggest that you must begin your path according to the one that aligns well with your nature. However, but gradually you must experience all the other methods of meditation also, because that will help you in understanding Krishna in his wholeness. Why to be one dimensional when you can experience the beauty of multi-dimensional richness? Now I will like to explain the path of knowledge or the Jnana Marg or the Jnana Yoga. Traditionally speaking, the path of knowledge is centered around self-inquiry. Here you are expected to ask questions like who I am, what I am, and in the process you have to seek answers. According to Krishna, man can liberate himself from false ego with the help of self-knowledge. Traditionally, Jnana Yoga is a spiritual practice that lays emphasis on pursuing knowledge with questions like who am I, what am I. Self-inquiry happens to be a powerful tool for self-realization. According to Krishna, we all have forgotten our true nature, and it is through knowledge, through self-inquiry that we can discover our true nature. And after discovering our true nature through self-inquiry, we can experience a state of blissfulness we are born with. This process of self-inquiry ultimately leads to elimination of ego, and this egolessness is the ultimate attainment. That is what we call the attainment of a state of inner bliss. The whole system of Ramana Maharshi's meditation was based on this self-inquiry. He used to say, always keep focused on asking only one question, and that is, who am I, who am I, who am I. Just go on asking this very question, put all your energy at stake only to receive an answer of this question. He used to emphasize that make this question your meditation, the ultimate meditation, the only meditation. He had a very crystal clear instruction not to try to answer the question, but according to him, the whole emphasis must be on receiving the answer, and the answer comes. You will not have to give it. It will spontaneously come from within you, and it will be the truth. It will not be the fabricated one. In this way, I have to ask you, just add awareness to the world of thoughts. You can do it by watching your thoughts. Once you start watching your thoughts as a witness, you will find that gradually the traffic of thoughts has started stopping, and in due course of time, with due course of practice, you will find that the road is totally traffic free. And when the road becomes totally traffic free, when the road becomes totally free of thoughts, then you experience your own self, the real face. And that is the ultimate result of the Jnana Yoga practice. That is the ultimate result of self-inquiry. Now, Bhakti Yoga are the path of devotion. If your emotions are more dominant, then Bhakti or devotion is the path for you. By adding meditation to your feelings, you start feeling meditatively. A person of intense feelings can feel the divine hand in everything of this universe. However, intellect-oriented people call them as lunatics, and this is so just because the intellect can see only what is visible, but the heart can feel even the invisible. In Bhakti Yoga, the dissolution of ego happens through devotion, because when you can feel the invisible hands of the divine from the pebble on the ground to the farthest star in the skies, then the boundaries of the ego start disappearing. Now the question arises, how to practice Bhakti Yoga? There is no place for any discipline in the philosophy of life of Krishna. Neither there is any scope for disciplining the 7 bodies, nor there is any scope for activating the 7 chakras of the body. He says it over and over again that we are already divine. We have only forgotten it, and therefore we have simply to remember just the same that we have forgotten. Neither anything has to be subtracted, nor anything has got to be added. Therefore, self-remembering is the essence of Krishna's path of devotion or Bhakti Yoga. However, the Sanskrit word smaran for remembering has been corrupted through the ages. In place of remembering, it has taken the form of chanting, and consequently this smaran had become sumiran, and people started chanting names of Rama, Krishna, and so on and so forth. But this can lead them to nowhere, because it can never lead them to remembering their own true nature. At most, it can give them false satisfaction that they are doing something in the name of God, in the name of religion. For example, you have forgotten your specs somewhere. Now, if you start chanting specs, 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 and you may go on chanting it hundreds and thousands of times, but by chanting as specs and specs, you will never be able to remember as to where you have forgotten the specs. In fact, truly speaking, remembering has nothing to do with chanting or repetition of names. Now the question arises, what is the right technique of remembering? I have to tell you my experience, and that is, right remembering happens when you are in a state of total relaxation, in a state of emptiness, in a state of silence. You are not required to do something, because doing something or being involved in an activity will certainly hinder rather than help you to remember. For example, you need to recall some name which you have forgotten for the moment. You try your best and make all the efforts to remember it. You close your eyes, you scratch your head, and you move your hands and legs to try to just have a grasp and glimpse of the same. But despite all your efforts, ultimately you fail to remember it. You just manage to take out a cigarette and start smoking. You start chatting with a friend, and you get involved into trivial conversations with people around. While relaxing in trivial conversations, doing this thing or that thing, you find that in that state of relaxation, when you are not making any effort to remember, the name that you wanted to recall suddenly pops up. You happen to get it. What you could not remember with so much of effort came up so effortlessly when you were totally relaxed. Memory is an important function of the mind, and your mind can be divided into two parts, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is the storehouse of your memory, and your conscious mind has to take all the memory from the unconscious mind. The conscious part of the mind takes all the memory from the unconscious mind, which is the storehouse. Self-remembering or remembering the divine even goes deeper than the individual unconscious mind. The individual unconscious mind lies buried in the dark below the conscious mind, and then just below the individual conscious mind lies the collective unconscious. However, at the bottom there lies the cosmic conscious, which is the universal mind or the mind of the total existence, and that is the ultimate, the supreme divine. God or self is known when your mind becomes totally integrated. It means when your conscious mind becomes one, not only with the individual unconscious, but also with the collective conscious and the cosmic unconscious. In that state you become totally integrated, and then the divine or the supreme manifests into your experience, or we can say you become one with the whole existence, you become one with the supreme, and that is the state of ultimate attainment. But now the question arises as to how to get integrated at all levels of the mind. According to Krishna, living in a state of total inaction is the only path, the most powerful path that can lead towards your total integration. However, Krishna's principle of inaction could not be understood so far by the humanity. People started telling that you have to leave your house, you have to leave this whole world for attaining the state of inaction. By inaction, they meant dropping all the action. By inaction, they meant total absence of action. They started professing that the professions should be left, the household should be left, the family should be left, the children should be left, and a state of seclusion, isolation, and total renunciation is required. Consequently, a long tradition of renunciation and escapism took place in India. However, you will be surprised to find that the person who advocated and propounded the powerful doctrine of inaction was very much engaged and involved in action all through his life. He himself did not leave the household. He married, he loved, he had children, he even fought the great war, he even negotiated peace, and he lived his life to the full in all its dimensions. It's a great irony of fate that a very unhealthy tradition of renunciation and escapism developed in the name of Krishna. In this connection, I would like to explain three significant words used by Krishna in Gita. These three words have been karma, akarma, and bikarma, which mean action, inaction and non-action. According to Krishna, karma or action is that which you do with an ego of doership. Even renunciation becomes an act or a karma when you do with the sense of doership. In other words, the act in which you feel that you are the doer becomes a karma or becomes an action. Secondly, inaction does not mean absence of action. It simply means an egoless action in which the doership is not there. While doing something, if you feel that you are not the doer, but then that act becomes a state of inaction. In this way, any action without doer being at the center of that action becomes inaction. Now, thirdly, try to understand vikarma or non-action or special action. The state of non-action is there where the doer is not there and even doing is not there, but the act is happening. Therefore, it is a special kind of action where the thing is happening without the doer and the doing being there. For example, there are a number of involuntary happenings like breathing, like blinking, like digestion of food, like blood circulation, where there is no doer and there is nobody doing, but still all these things are happening. Such specific situations, such specific happenings can be treated as non-action or special action. Birth is happening, aging is happening, death is happening, but the doer is not there, the volition is not there, the will is not there, but all these things are happening. How? An ordinary person lives in action. A sannyasi or a true seeker of truth lives in a state of inaction, and the God is always there in a state of non-action. And I want to tell you that a right understanding of the state of non-action will immediately lead you to a state of inaction. This is the only way to give you the right message deeper into your heart and soul, that a number of things, the most significant things of life, are happening on their own without any one being as a doer, and this understanding will push the truth within you that even the things for which you treat yourself as the doer are just because you are stupid enough not to understand the truth. It is out of sheer stupidity that we hold that we are the doers of different events in our life. Krishna says that developing this subtle understanding is the greatest wisdom. According to Krishna, this right understanding is the greatest spiritual wisdom of life. That is why he says, let there be action on the periphery. Let all the action be there on the periphery of your life, but at the very center of your being, just be in a state of total inaction. That is what I call bhitar se sannyas, bahar se sansar. In other words, I would like to explain that being in a state of inaction, living in a state of inaction, is the essence of all the sadhanas of Krishna's Gita. If you can understand the meaning of living in a state of inaction, you can comprehend the whole message of Gita. If you cannot understand the state of living in a state of inaction, you can never understand Gita. Living in a state of inaction is the essence of Gita, and it is the greatest sadhana. For this, you are not required to do anything. You have simply to allow everything to happen the way it's happening. You have to simply allow that which is happening. You have to drop the ego of doership, and that's all. And the moment the doership disappears, self-remembering happens. You come to the experience of your authentic being or true nature of blissfulness. And just by right understanding of what non-action is, all doership will disappear. That is the only remedy, that is the only way to experience being in a state of non-doing. You have simply to understand that everything is being done through you. You are not the doer. You are simply an instrument. Through you, the existence is doing everything, whether it is breathing or it is the circulation of blood. You are not making it happen, the existence is making it happen through you. The very understanding of this fact will make you feel that nothing is in your hands. Neither you decide to be born, nor you decide to die. Neither you have your hand in breathing, nor you have your hand in your blood circulation. You don't have any say while aging from childhood to old age to death. Everything was here in the existence before you were born, and everything will be here in the existence after you die. The things will continue to happen as they are happening. Our acts are like lines drawn on the surface of water. No sooner they are drawn than they disappear. Then why to carry this burden of I overhead and then continuously suffer throughout life? To understand the deeper meaning of non-action is wisdom, and I can say it is the essence of all knowledge. In this state, all your action becomes inaction, and you start acting without being a doer. In this way, according to Krishna, being in a state of inaction is the most powerful technique of self-remembering. Remembering that comes through effort is false. Remembering that happens effortlessly is the true remembering. It takes you to experiencing your own authentic nature, your own authentic being. It comes straight from the cosmos, from the universe. That is why it is said that Vedas are the divine revelations. Whenever something comes from the beyond, whosoever may be the medium, that thing becomes a divine revelation. That is why Jesus says again and again, my Father in heaven speaks through me. And Krishna says, I am not, only God is. I am the God. All is my play. In short, the whole message is very clear. You are only an instrument in the hands of this existence. You are no more a doer. The moment you become a doer, all anguish, all suffering, all pain, all agony, all troubles start arising in your life. All sorts of fear will start arising in your life. You just become a flute on the lips of this existence, and let the existence flow through you. Let the song of this existence flow through you. through your actions. And if you can put yourself in this state, a great music will be born. The bliss will become your experience. That is why at the end of the Gita, Krishna says, give up everything, give up all religions, give up all sense of doer and doing. Just get established in inaction. All else shall follow. Now, the third path, the path of action or karma yoga. If your will is dominant, then karma yoga or the path of action is the path for you. There are people who cannot sit silently, they cannot live without work, they have to do something or the other, otherwise it will be impossible for them to survive. They are the working giants, they are working day and night, every moment they need something to do. For people like that, the path is the path of action or karma yoga. You can make your work itself to be a path towards experiencing the ultimate by elimination of your ego. In fact, a karma yogi is one who adds meditation to the word of action. Krishna says, karmaneva dhikaraste ma phale sukadachan ma karm phal hetur bhurma te sangasta karmani. This means action alone is thy concern, not its consequences. Let fruits of action not be your motive, nor let attachment be to inaction. The essence of karma yoga propounded by Krishna says that you have no right over the fruits of action. You can only have control over your actions. Therefore, he says, act. Focus all your attention, focus all your energy on action itself. When your total focus is on the action, the result is automatically bound to happen. But don't focus your attention on the fruits of the action. This is a very meaningful advice. If you focus your attention on the fruits of action, then your energy gets diverted. Then you fail to concentrate and put all your strength, all your energy, all your talent, all your skill into the action. The net result is you will not be able to receive the fruits of your action. Therefore, Krishna suggests not to be bothered at all by the fruits of the action. You have to drop all about the fruits of the action. You have to focus totally into the action itself, and the reason given by him is very sound, very clear. You don't have any control over the fruits, over the consequences. You have to take into cognizance about that aspect of our activity over which you have some control. Your actions are the only thing over which you have any control. So, focus all your attention on the action without bothering about the consequences. The consequences will spontaneously come up to you, and whatever happens, be in a mode of total acceptance for the same. In this way, every desireless action, every action, while doing that act, if you don't have any expectation, that becomes a niskam karma yoga. That action itself becomes a yoga. You are not required to do anything else. While doing all the activities of your life without any expectation of the consequences, you will find that something extraordinary has started happening. You will find that you have started going closer and closer to your own authentic being, to your own real nature, to your true nature. A desireless action wherein you are not concerned with the fruits of the action will certainly lead you towards a greater freedom. Krishna says, such acts do not bind you. If your action is filled with desires, it will bind you and it will become a cause of your rebirth. A desireless action never binds you, it frees you. By desireless actions, you can attain total freedom and you can free yourself from the bondage of birth and rebirth. By desireless, selfless action, you can attain self-realization and you will stop accumulating karmas. You will become totally free from the bondage of karmas. In this way, we have seen that all the three yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, ultimately lead you towards the elimination of ego. And I want to tell you, as long as the ego remains, you cannot rejoice like a Krishna. You cannot experience the blissfulness and completeness of a Krishna. Your life cannot become a Leela or a play or a participant in the Maharas or the great dance of the universe. Ego is the only barrier between you and Krishna. The day your ego dissolves, you can allow Krishna to enter into your being. Choose any or all these three paths to invite Krishna within you. Thank you.